Will AI replace engineer or will it change the nature of the engineering work? One technical subject every computer engineering student must learn thoroughly.
Everyone will say data structures and algorithm. I'm going to say operating system.
Were you already clear about your career goals during the time of engineering?
I would be lying if I said yes.
Suppose you could meet yourself as a second year or third year engineering student at VIT now. So, what advice would you give to your younger self regarding learning, friendship, projects, internships, health?
Firstly, to stop looking at grades as the only thing that matters. My advice to myself would be to improve my communication, right?
One habit that contributed significantly to your success.
Staying curious.
Namaskar and warm welcome to everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this special alumni podcast where we interact with accomplished professionals and explore the experiences, decisions, skills, and values that shape their careers. The purpose of this conversation is to help our students understand that a successful professional journey is not built only through academic marks. It is shaped by continuous learning, experimentation, problem solving, communication, resilience, and the courage to take on new challenges. Today, we are privileged to have with us Mr. Ramanan Hariharan, an alumnus of the Computer Engineering Department of Vidyalankar Institute of Technology. Mr. Hariharan is presently working as a principal engineer leader in AI security and resiliency at Microsoft. His professional journey is truly inspiring. He began as an entrepreneur, worked in cybersecurity and product development at Infosys. He began as and spent several years leading major cyber risk and identity transformation initiatives at Deloitte and is now contributing to enterprise AI security, identity governance, zero trust, and cyber resilient at Microsoft. He has also completed his Master of Science in Computer Science from Binghamton University, State University of New York, and hold globally recognized certifications in cybersecurity and cloud computing. Mr. Hariharan, it is great honor to have you with us. On behalf of Vidyalankar Institute of Technology and our student, I extend a warm welcome to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sanjeev sir. It is truly my pleasure to be back. I think I'm grateful to be here, and I hope some of my experience that we communicate today help our students in their journey as they begin their career as well.
So, thank you for joining us. Let us begin by going back to where this remarkable journey started. So let's talk about your life as an engineering student. You completed your Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Engineering from Vidyalankar Institute of Technology. So when you look back at your undergraduate years, what are some of the most important experiences, habits, faculty interactions, projects, or challenges that influenced your professional journey?
A very heavily loaded question at the first one.
Yes.
To begin with, right? Like, I don't think I had my entire career planned ahead of me. It was mostly learning, right? Ensuring that I'm able to actually master the craft, asking questions, being able to be closer to the professors and the teachers who were experienced and learning from them, right? Having that ability to create, or basically giving myself a chance to actually build my foundation so that I can actually think bigger, think through any problem given in hand. Looking back, I would have never imagined that my career would take me from building software to doing all these things over the last few years. But I think how it shaped was my ability to learn and looking at things beyond just curriculum, whether coding or whether learning books or reading books, pushing myself out of the comfort zone. If I were to just summarize everything, I would just say that I was very curious and always looking for opportunities and areas where I could express myself.
That's nice. Our audiences are mostly engineering students. So that gives rise to a question in the mind that were you already clear about your career goals during the time of engineering when you were doing the engineering?
I mean, I would be lying if I said yes.
Okay.
And I think the biggest part of the 4 years is actually to help you to see everything that you can do. We give you that opportunity and open doors. Typically do not exist if you're not there in such a school like Vidyalankar, right? I don't think I had my full path charted. It was mostly about learning and taking one day at a time and having that opportunity and looking things from a different perspective. And one thing that always stayed with me was just reading copious amounts of books, right? And it included everything from college notes to reference books to also the fictional books that we have, right? So it has nothing to do with how I wanted to chart my career. It was always like, hey, I'll take one day at a time and understand what I want to do. But before understanding what I want to do, I wanted to just explore and give myself the opportunity to try out different things.
That's nice. Normally, student when they come to us, they come with a question. Like over the period of each semester, they learn a lot of subjects. They are right now curious to know okay, which particular subject should we focus more on. I mean, they should understand that it's not one subject. But then,
Yeah.
I mean, so for their curiosity, was there any particular subject or a project that developed your interest in technology per se? Because normally students they join engineering because they have to do. Everyone is doing it. So was there any subject that actually ignited that your
Yeah.
interest in technology?
Yeah. I think I would say top three, right?
Yes.
Raised my interest in technology, but at the same time also were my favorite, just because it developed that aptitude in me, which helped me explore, right? I mean, I would say the first subject would be mathematics there, very highly opinionated there. But I think mathematics just from a standpoint of understanding problems and trying to break down problems, right? Second thing would be data structures, algorithms. I think as we progress in our career, what I fondly look back is how much I learned over those 4 years, which kind of set my base and foundation. Everything from merge sort to everything from
Okay.
omega sort, right? And all
Yes.
those foundational are still something that I work with today, and things that are very close to what I do even today, right? And the third most important thing I would say is operating systems, right? Technology, as we see, keeps evolving. But that also means that you are doing different things at the same base foundation, right? And the base
Correct.
foundation is your
Correct.
operating systems, right?
Correct.
Operating systems, I remember being a very theoretical subject when I
Yes.
was in 4 years, right? But those theories and those concepts were kind of laid the foundation without even me being aware of it, right? It kind of helped understand how, for example, a semaphore works, right? Or what is a block condition or what is a race condition. Those things you will always often see being extrapolated to a lot of different areas, and that is what I think. Those are the top three subjects for me. But it kind of looking back kind of helps you understand all those concepts on how data centers work and how programs work, right? Almost all the programs that I develop today, I have to keep an eye on the performance, the utilization, the amount of CPU power it uses, and then within the age of AI, we are going to only be talking about CPU power and the compute power, right? And that is basically another form of operating system. And I think those three subjects, in that order, mathematics, DSA, and operating systems would be my favorite, if that's the question.
Nice. Going through your CV, it is evident that you did almost everything. You did entrepreneurship initially. Then you were on job. You explored. You did research. You explored new technologies, and so that might give rise to a question like, what kind of student were you? I mean, were you too academically focused? You were entrepreneurial. You were curious, or involved in activities beyond the classrooms.
I think I would say that I was curious, right? Because since I did not know what I wanted to do, I was ensuring that I'm putting myself out for literally everything, right? And that included everything, literally, right? Which means you are talking about subjects, you're talking about practical knowledge, and you're talking about things that happen in college, right? That first year of when I started was the first time we had tech festival in our college, right? In at VAT, and that is when
Yeah.
I went through the tech fest. I liked tech fest better than cultural fest, and I had nothing to do with cultural fest. I was mostly
Okay.
focused on the tech fest side of the house. And
Yes.
entrepreneurial, I mean, it was not. I mean, entrepreneurship isn't something that comes to me directly. It is mostly like having that ownership and building things. So and always looking out for doing things in a different way. And I think that is what I wanted to do. I as I said, right, I did not think of one thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to just do everything and just understand and explore as much as I can.
So, can I summarize it like that? Unlike what normally students think that they must have their complete career plan during their college, we can say that most successful career gets evolved through exploration and experience. Can we conclude it like that?
100%, right? And also, just to caveat that, right, you are not going to plan everything. And as much as I believe that planning and preparing is important, I think in some cases like career, you want to go with the flow and be eager to learn different things, and you never know which things are going to help you in the future.
Nice. Now, nowadays there is a trend where people are talking to the younger self. Correct. You
Yeah.
can see I'm talking to. Yeah, there are many videos. There are many short videos where people are talking to your younger selves. Now, suppose you could meet yourself as a second year or third year engineering student at VIT now. So, what
Yeah.
advice would you give to your younger self regarding learning, friendship, projects, internships, health,
Hmm.
networking, like that?
I mean, great question, right? I think my top three things would be firstly to stop looking at grades as the only thing that matters, right? So not only optimizing for grades. And again, we are designed such a way, right? You have to score this many percentages. You have to score this much in entrance exams. Only then you qualify for certain things. So grades are important, but don't optimize for grades, right? What I mean by that is you should develop skills. You should develop projects, and most importantly, if I look back, and my advice to myself would be to improve my communication right at the start. Given how we have things in India, I think communication is going to be the next biggest thing, if I can say that, in the age of AI, right? Everyone can do AI. That's what basically intelligence is commoditized now. So everyone has intelligence. Everyone is intelligent, right? But how do you actually present that intelligence? How do you bring that power of intelligence to others is only possible through the way you communicate, right? So having myself a bit more in a structured form of communication, better storytelling, I think that would have been the biggest advice that I could have given myself.
Nice. Going through your CV, found out that you started your journey as an entrepreneur. So that was one of the most interesting aspect of your journey that you founded Astraj, if I pronounced it correctly, Astraj
Yep.
Technology, relatively earlier in your career. When I
Yep.
was going through it, you started working on intelligent mobile applications for areas with low internet connectivity, and you helped thousands of people from rural background to develop mobile and internet literacy. So, what
Yep.
motivated you to become an entrepreneur, and what were your biggest lessons you learned while building technology for users with limited resources?
As I said earlier, right, entrepreneurship does not come to me directly. It is mostly
Correct.
around building things, and having that interest to just be curious and ask questions and develop things and reach out to people and understand. Right, this was 2008, right? So we just were at the precipice of how internet was booming in India,
Yes,
and
yes, yes,
smartphones were still not very smart that time, right? It was just like,
yes,
yeah, you
yes,
had a phone
yes.
which could have internet, and that's all. So over a period of time, what happened was I used to visit my grandparents and I saw them what they were doing. So that kind of sparked their interest to actually do small snippets of lessons for folks who are in rural areas to make them help them
Yes.
understand. The biggest lesson that I gained from that was, since it is no longer a place where you are now just thinking of books, right, or you're just thinking of your lessons, you now own the entire piece from end to end. So the
Correct.
success or the failure or the lack of those come to you. So the buck
Yeah.
stops with you, right? And that ownership and that responsibility, that you are actually owning everything. You are responsible for feedback, but at the same time you're also responsible for things that don't work well, is all upon me, right? I think that mindset kind of stayed with me throughout my career, right? Like, you are forced to become better, and I was forced to become better through going through that experience. I was forced to communicate better because you're not actually dealing with, like, for example, right, few of my customers or users were from rural Sangli and
Correct.
rural Dhule in Maharashtra, right? Now
Mhm.
these are people who speak very colloquial Marathi, right? Like, now, so
Correct.
you need to speak that same language, else
Yes.
they're not going to understand. They're not going to even entertain you talking to them, right? So you try to talk to them in that you understand. So empathy improved in me, right? And so, yeah, so those are the biggest lessons for me as I started. And as I said again, right, it was all about learning and doing things. If it was not this particular app that I have in my
Mhm.
resume, that would have been with some other app, right? Like, I build websites
Yeah.
for a few temples in India as well, very famous temples in India. I have built few websites for some of the coaching centers, right, like Vidyalankar.
Okay.
So Yeah, so there were always that, but I think it is mostly about building things.
Normally, during the undergraduate journey, student learns problems that are very, standard in nature, bookish problems.
Yeah,
So this entrepreneurship journey, I think it must have changed the way you understood users and real world problem solving.
yeah,
Yes. So
yeah.
can we say something like that? This entrepreneur journey, it demonstrated actually that engineering is not about only developing software. Like the way you said, when you were interacting with people, their Marathi dialect was altogether different from the way people talk in Mumbai. So it's more about understanding people, identifying meaningful problems, and creating practical solutions.
Right, and having that empathy. We are all empathetic. It is just that we don't remember how to be empathetic, right? So having that empathy and creating that nervous system in you, where you understand that, hey, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes is as important as actually learning how to code.
I believe the students or the people who will be listening to this podcast will think that you might be having very hunky dory lives, like everything perfect, because they normally hear about successful outcomes. They rarely hear about uncertainty, failures, and difficult decisions because the CV does not reflect them.
Yes.
So, during your startup or early professional career, was there any setback or difficult phases that significantly changed your approach towards the work and leadership?
Yeah, and I think there are many moments, right? Like when you actually think of, hey, if I would have done that, this would have been different, right? I would not go and specifically point out what, right? But then I think the theme has been that having waiting for that opportunity, right?
Yes.
And analyzing too much too often instead of actually executing and actioning. I think that were the biggest mistakes that I did over few years, right? It's not that I don't do it anymore. It's still something that I keep doing and learning from it. But I think over analyzing and getting stuck in that phase where you think you need to have everything sorted out in order to action. And this can be anything, right? Like for example, if you are preparing for your exams, sometimes you just need to get started. Things will actually automatically flow, right? If you're building something, you just need to get started. Nowadays, it is fairly easy to get started with all the
Yeah.
AI things and everything.
Correct.
So having that consistency and the determination to finish is also equally important, right? So ensuring that you know that you have an opportunity to actually make a change, as catchy as it may sound, it is that, right? Because yeah, you have that opportunity to make a change in your own self. I think that is more important. So I think those are the things I would say I learned from my failures as well. And then yeah, I mean, if there are many specific examples, right? It's not that yeah everything was. My grades were not always very high. My
Okay.
master's struggles were not very easy, right? Like, and things that
Correct.
I did courses weren't something that was straightforward, right? When people learn, but as I said, right, curiosity and learning is one of the top two characteristics that I got from all this.
Nice, nice. So let's talk about your journey of building a cybersecurity career. We can find that you started Infosys. You worked in Infosys on areas such as static code analysis, vulnerability management, threat modeling, secure software development, phishing prevention, and all. So, how did your transition into cybersecurity took place, and what attracted you in this field?
I think in third year of engineering, I had a subject called as computer security, right? I think
Yes.
that was my first instance where we went through cybersecurity. We spoke about different algorithms and all those things, right? It always definitely piqued interest, but it was not something that made me think of, oh, this is what I want to do, right? As I said,
Okay.
always someone who wanted to try, and yeah, the Infosys, and it was cybersecurity wasn't the first thing I did. Also, right? We at Infosys, I was trained as a .NET developer, and so I actually built .NET applications for a considerable period of time. Before there was a project opening and there was a project requirement. By chance, I had to go and help them with something that I did not realize at the start that it was cybersecurity, right? So, can you hear me?
Yes, 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 absolutely.
Yeah. No, so Infosys as well, right? It was not as if like, oh yeah, they just gave me cybersecurity project as the first thing, right? So it took some time, some cycles, and then a project came about. It was not even like something that was directly pasted as, hey, this is a cybersecurity project. It was a software development project that I was working on, and then slowly realized that this is something similar to what I studied in
Okay.
4 years of engineering, and that kind of of kept me hooked up into that, right? And then I started looking for such opportunities where I could actually do cybersecurity work, right? So I did application security at Infosys. I did vulnerability management. I built
Okay.
tools that does all that. Similarly, when I did my masters, I had focused on cybersecurity as one of the major subjects. And then when I went to my next stage in career, I again cybersecurity as my focus to do. So I would say it was chance and at the same time some exploration that I did before coming to that place.
Nice, nice. What happened is normally student when they go into third year or final year and they decide upon certain specialization, like the way you said in third year, you were exposed to this course where which ignited this interest. Normally students tend to ignore the fundamental subjects like the way you cited programming, operating system, computer network, database, software engineering, programming skills. Like in third year and final year, all of a sudden they decide to go ahead with this specialization. So I guess the fundamental knowledge of these courses will play very important role before you go or decide to go into specialization, correct?
Exactly. Yep. 100%.
So they should have a very sound fundamental knowledge of lower semester courses. I guess we can have a very important message for these students. Specialization could become stronger when it is built on sound computer science fundamentals, right?
Fundamentals, right? And it can be computer science, it can be non-tech or non-CS background as
Correct.
well, right? So you are building out. You can be only a specialized person if you know the basics and the foundation,
Basic.
right? So I still remember for the first year of engineering, we used to have chemistry and physics and mathematics as the subjects as well, right? Never
Yes.
understood why we had chemistry and physics, but over a
Yeah.
period of time, I have gone through so many experiences where I think chemistry is something that still something that impacts my life. So
Yes.
kind of having that foundation helps be smart. I think let me say it, or maybe let me wrap that this way, right? Having that foundation helps you make smarter decisions about specializing yourself. Yep.
So let's talk more about cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is currently one of the most discussed career domains. I mean, students are very curious about it, but they are something confused by large number of tools, certifications, platforms, and job roles. So, what practical roadmap would you recommend to an undergraduate who wants to build a career in cybersecurity?
Yeah, I mean, so my top three things would be, and if I were actually starting again today, right, and having that experience of cybersecurity and looking back myself, I would say learning any one programming language, and there's no good or bad programming language here, right? So you just learn any one programming language, you understand how syntax works, how compilers work, how you compile a program, right? Having that structure in how you write a code and a program and elegant code basis, I think important, right? So most important skill. Second is having your fundamentals around operating systems and networking is very important. All through your cybersecurity, if you start, right, you will observe that everything is operating systems and networking. I mean, because that's the foundation, right? So any security professional will tell you that, hey, if I want to hack you, I'm going to look at your foundation, which is network and your operating systems, right? So if you have that strong enough, you are built for success, right? And if somebody is actually trying to kickstart their career, I would also say having that hands-on project experience would definitely be super helpful, right? Building a project does not mean that you have to invent something new, right? It can be something that you have seen in the market and you want to build that. That kind of gives you or paves the way for you being curious. You can actually now also think of different ways to solve a problem.
Yes.
You are exposed to problems that are encountered by big enterprises, right? So you're basically trying to solve for big enterprises, even without actually working with that place.
Sure, sure. Nice. Let's talk about your master's degree in US. You completed your master's of science in computer science from Binghamton University in United States. How did postgraduate education and international exposure contribute to your technical development and professional maturity?
I think it changed the way I approached the problem, right? If I say what did the US master's degree help me with, I think the way it contributed was much more technically, right? I mean, technical knowledge, degrees, and that is certainly improved, right? You are studying at a different level, and that does not have to be a master's degree in the US, right? You can same happens with an MTech degree or PhD in India as well. It's not,
Correct.
or you don't have to go to US to do that. But classrooms in the US are much more discussion oriented, right? You are kind of made to communicate, you are made to collaborate with others, which kind of makes you an overall good person, right? An overall strong and a smarter person who is forced to grow, to communicate better, to think bigger, right? And also having that abundance mindset, right? Which is that, hey, there is enough opportunities for everyone, so we grow together, right? I think that is important, because the moment you start thinking about like that of a problem, you are actually trying to solve for things that does not exist. And when you do that, you are actually opening up so many different areas, right? Apart from that, I mean, the subjects and everything almost same as what I did in my master and my undergrad in India also, right? But the exposure around different cultures and making and being able to communicate, I think that were the game changers on top of the technical things that I learned.
So, can we say to students like this? Yeah, apart from technical knowledge, there has to be certain cultural and professional adjustment that you need to do when you are there, right?
Exactly that. Yep.
Fine. Moving ahead, let's talk about your leadership journey at Deloitte. During your long association with Deloitte, we can see you led large scale cyber and identity transformation programs. You worked with major global organizations, managed significant portfolios, and helped build a global Deloitte Okta organization from a small team into a workforce of around 300 professionals. So, how did you transition from being a technical professional to leading large teams, business relationships, and enterprise transformation program?
Yeah.
What's made you this transition from a person to a leadership?
I think the transition is organic as much as I want to say it was something that I worked towards, right? The transition from someone who does things to enable people to do things is organic, right? And that is what I call my leadership style as well. You are, as a leader, what you do is you are enabling others, you are communicating well, you are presenting your thought process in a different way that kind of captures all the things that people want to hear, right? And at the same time, it also helps people to grow based on what they are learning and seeing that you do, right? So leading by example, and that is only possible when you actually are mastering your own craft and doing things, right? So as when I moved into leadership roles, what I found was technical expertise wasn't the only thing that was enough, right? You have to listen better, you have to build trust better. Solving problems is one asset, right? But then the other asset is you need to solve problems together, right? And I think that was the major transition on how I approach this problem.
Can we say the technical knowledge may help a person to enter an industry, but leadership requires communication, trust, decision making, and very rightly you said earlier, empathy that will help everyone to develop.
Exactly that. Yeah, you have to grow together, right? And I think that is something that I always understood here. Is growing together kind of makes life easier for you, and also someone else also kind of looks towards you to help them grow as well, right? So
Nice, nice. So let's come back to some suggestions to our students. Like engineering students, they naturally focus on programming languages, tools, technical subject. In your experience, which non-technical skills that differentiate professionals who grow rapidly from those who remain limited to narrowly defined responsibilities?
I think I said this enough, right? Communication.
Yes.
I think communication skills are the single most important thing that you need to have in order to be someone who grows, right? It's as simple as that. So you will have 100 things in your head, but saying the right thing at the right time is much more important than knowing 100 things. Sometimes you might just have one thing, but that may be the only thing that matters, right? So, and then when I say communication, I'm talking about verbal communication. So how you speak, how you hold a room, how you are clear, right? You don't have to have an accent, right? You can just talk simple English, and that's enough.
Correct.
Right? And how do you write, right? It also includes the writing skills. I mean, yeah, with AI you can actually make everything with AI, right? But that kind of removes that material presence of what a human can bring in, and that is what is going to differentiate you from somebody else who uses AI, right? I think the most successful engineers that I work with, right, aren't the ones who are smartest, right? They are the ones who actually are able to explain the ideas clearly, right? And I think that is what is the most important thing.
I mean, why I discuss this is because during the undergraduate course, students do have many courses that deals with like professional presentation and all, but student tends to take them very lightly during the course, ignoring it because it is not technical per se. So that was a kind of message to the students. Technical is important, but having soft skills is even more important once you go into industry, right?
Yep, exactly that. Yep.
So let's discuss about AI security and future of engineering. You are presently, doing work related to AI security, identity governance, zero trust, and cyber resilience at Microsoft. So, for the benefit of undergraduate students, how do you explain the concept of AI security in simple terms? I mean, why this securing artificial intelligence different from securing conventional software application?
Okay, yeah, there are two good questions, right? So simply put, I mean, AI security is just ensuring AI is behaving responsibly, right? And AI is behaving the way you want it to be
Yes.
behaving. And that includes the authorization and authentication piece, which is AI the right thing that is getting in the system? And is it doing the right thing that it was supposed to be designed to do, right? Or is it getting more, right?
Yes.
And as why and how different it is from the systems, right? When you have systems, and traditionally our systems haven't been able to think for themselves, right? You basically feed it, they
Yes.
are able to follow a set of algorithms or set of instructions and respond to it, right? What changes in the era of AI is how it infers whatever you're saying, right? So the inference piece is what is different today. So basically, if you might say 1 plus 1 today, I mean, previously it was always answer was always 2, but if you said 1 plus 1 today, it also knows that 2 plus 2 is 4 and 3 plus 3 is 6, right? So
Yes.
that inference is making, right? So now you are no longer only securing 1 plus 1, you're also securing for 2 plus 2 and 3 plus 3. I think that is where the changes happen. The way we don't have an answer yet for how you secure AI, but this
Yes.
is where the same fundamentals that you use for basic security comes here as well, right? So it's the same encryption algorithms, it's the same ensuring that the right person is accessing the right resource at the right time for the duration of time, right? So all those things are things that I learned from engineering, and I still use them, right? And it's the same concept, and you are going to be using the same concept for next 100 years, right? Including AI. So
Because nowadays there are concerns and fear among the students that AI tools may reduce the conventional software development opportunities when they see the different layoffs that's happening across. So, in your view, will AI replace engineer or will it change the nature of the engineering work?
let me answer that different way, right? So
Yes.
creativity of what that human being brings, the judgment of which is what is correct and what is wrong, and what is optimal and what is perfect, right? The critical thinking behind strategy, right? AI can write as much as answers you want, but the strategy is something that only you can forethink, right? And understanding business problems, right? Like, so when I say business problems, it means that any everyday problem, right? Like I have my car not working, that's a business problem for me, right? So how, and all those things are deeply still human, right? What I mean by saying all this is AI isn't going to replace a human being. It is just going to make us better, make us efficient. And it is something that I've been telling for last few years now. It is just going to be that people who know AI are going to be ahead in the race than ones who do not use AI, right? So and adoption of AI is important, but you still need to have your own human touch into it, right?
Can we say there is a difference between using AI to avoid learning? Because nowadays, what students are doing, they're using AI to solve their assignments. So we can say that students are using AI to avoid learning and using AI to accelerate learning. I guess this is how the students should be using AI. What is your suggestion on it?
Yeah, so accelerate learning, right?
Correct.
I mean, I get an example. Before AI, what we used to do is go and Google 100 things,
Correct.
and then infer one thing which was good for us. So when
Correct.
we Googled, we kind of went through 100 different things, made us smarter, because next time we encountered one of those other things that was not useful first time, it was also again useful. With AI, you are actually losing that, right? You are actually losing
Yes.
that ability to infer things. You are now being given an answer. So accelerate learning is one, but I think as students it is important to still research that answer that you are getting from AI, or research that learning that you are getting from AI. So for example, right, if AI tells you that, hey, yeah, go and do this Python code, ask it questions like, hey, why are you doing this? Why is it that, oh, this parameter will solve my answer, with solve my question without doing so and so, right? Since you already have a thing that is answering your questions, maybe you ask more questions to you, right? And I think that is what you are going to accelerate your learning. Just taking answers from that isn't going to solve anything, and you will be, and that is where the entire myth of, hey, we don't need entry level engineers comes into picture,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
Only when you have entry level engineers, you're going to have experienced engineer in 10 years, right?
Experiences.
So,
Yes.
so
Can we say we should rephrase the question? The question should not be whether AI will replace engineer. The question should be whether engineer who understand AI will outperform the one who do not. Yes.
exactly, 1,000%. Yeah, yeah. Can't
Okay.
agree with you more there.
Yes. Let's talk about how should be an ideal career roadmap for a student should be. Like we would now like to make this conversation more practical to our students. So, could you suggest a year-wise roadmap for an engineering undergraduate? Like, what should a first-year engineer should focus on? What should be achieved by a second-year undergraduate student? When they should start working on projects and internship? Now, internship is a part of the curriculum, so there is a stream. It's more structured. Begin precisely preparing for placements or higher education.
Yeah, I think let me say it this way, right? So preparing for placements and higher education is a 4 year project, right? It's not 1 year you get up and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to prepare
Yes.
for it. That's not how it works. But first year, I would say, since you're talking about 4 years, first year I would say focus on your fundamentals, right? And that includes everything. That does not include only things that are CS oriented, for example, right? It should be everything from mathematics, physics, right? You never know when you're going to be using it. Second year, I would say build project, put yourself out there. Now that you have the fundamentals, putting yourself out there is more important because you now will know what you don't know, right? And you will realize very fast that you don't know anything, right? And that is where you start again relearning
Yes.
yourself, right? So building projects is another way you actually put yourself out there. Third is when I would say you start researching and on your curriculum, right? And more often than not, what happens is colleges, companies, when they hire from campuses, they would typically like locking on the candidates in almost third year or end of third year, right? So that is when you
Yes.
actually, so first 2 years is preparing yourself to be someone who is shown that expertise to solve problems that they don't know of, and I think that is where you start looking for. And fourth year, I think fourth year is mostly should be about polishing yourself, right? When I say polishing, it just means improving your
Yes.
communication, your aptitude, improving how you speak, how you talk, how you present yourself, right? Yes, most. I mean, there was a time, right, 5 years back when we everything was Zoom. It's still there,
Yes.
but the era just now pushed us towards is that you still need human touch, right? AI is going to solve everything for you, right? But
Yes.
then if you have the human
Yes.
behind it, it is going to actually get it better. That is why you need to be that person who is well communicated, well educated, and also well read, right? I would not stress more about reading books, and it can be anything.
Yes. Student, they very frequently ask questions like they're confused whether academic marks is very important. And now there is a craze where students are solving a lot of problems, doing competitive codings on various coding platforms like Lead Code. There are certifications, there are internships, there are hackathons, there are research papers, there are projects. So we are actually offering a lot of things on platter to them. So there is confusion how they should balance among these different activities without actually becoming overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think the answer to that question is just building yourself something, right? So once you start building yourself things, you are going to see that you're breaking things down and you're rebuilding things them, right? That way, right? And when you actually do that, some of the things that you mentioned, right? Hackathons, papers, research opportunities, everything opens by itself, right? When you build, for example, saying that, hey, I want to look at my encryption algorithm and build a new encryption algorithm. When you start doing that, you are going to encounter why some algorithms work this way, right? And that kind of puts you in a place where somebody who is not doing will not be there, right? For example, you research about encryption algorithms, you're going to be talking to such people who are encryption algorithm experts, right? And then you are going to actually be closer to companies that actually offer you such jobs, right? And then that will kind of, you are in the orbit closer to people who talk the same thing, and then eventually you will get the job as well, right? So I think I would say it that way. I mean, lead code and all those things, I mean, those are good, but those aren't the skills that somebody from 4 years of engineering would be looked towards to have, right? As a company, as someone
Yes.
who hires people from campus, myself, I typically look for somebody who has more curiosity and has that ability to ask questions than somebody who can code a program for me in like 5 minutes, right? That's not something that I'm looking for.
I mean, what is your suggestion regarding doing meaningful certifications? Because nowadays there are very MOOC courses available through Coursera and all NPTEL platforms, and many institutes have started mapping their courses with the content of these MOOC courses. So, are these certification helpful for the student? I mean, what is your suggestion? Or there is, I mean, how they should select the most meaningful certification?
Yeah, I think certifications are good for you to get exposed to what knowledge you can get. But let me say it also, rephrase this again this way, right? When I am trying to hire somebody, I see a certification, great, right? So I know that this person is aware of this knowledge. or knows of this, right? But what has this person actually done after knowing this, right? I will only be aware if that person has actually implemented a project or has actually done something meaningful with that certification, right? So certifications are great as a start, but then you need to use your certifications to improve your knowledge and actually showcase that knowledge, which is projects such as creating some repository in your GitHub profile to have things that are present there, right? So I think those are the important things.
So I can summarize it like they should go ahead with certification only as a means to acquire knowledge.
Acquire knowledge and actually
I mean,
put it into practice by using projects.
does industry trust these certifications? Do they take these certifications seriously?
Yes, kind of, right? But at the same time, they expect you
For
to
initial
know more.
placement. Yeah.
Yeah, but certification alone is not going to actually get you a job, right? So you need to show. So
Correct.
between somebody who has a certification and somebody who does not have a certification but has projects that has done the same thing that a person from certification should know, I would choose the second person here, right? I would choose the person who has done something with that work or on that work, right?
So skill before certification.
Skill before certification, as I rightly put there.
Okay, so let's have some short rapid fire rounds. Correct. Yeah. This is for the student. One technical subject every computer engineering student must learn thoroughly.
Everyone will say data structures and algorithm. I'm going to say operating systems.
So one programming language the student should become confident in.
Python in this day and age. Python. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. One habit that contributed significantly to your success.
Staying curious.
The next one is you answered already. Projects or certification.
I mean, projects any day.
Greater priority.
Yeah, projects any day.
Project. Yeah. Higher education or industry experience.
Both of them are equally important. If you actually want to gain experience, the way I did, I think higher education can come after that. Based on what I learned from myself and what I saw, 4 years of engineering taught you what you need to do. Right now, there is a chance that you can, if you get a chance to actually go and implement, go with the work, even if it means that you are working for a very small company or a boutique firm. Go and explore, right? And then you always have that higher education opportunity, right? So go back to that after a couple of years. I mean, having that experience adds that extra salt in your food.
One common mistake engineering students should avoid.
Comparison.
Okay. So one quality that you look while hiring or mentoring young professionals.
Being proactive, yeah.
So one emerging technology domain that students should closely observe.
I mean, yeah, AI security.
I mean, any platform, course, or any learning resource that you would recommend that will help the student.
I would not say any specific course, but I would say build projects on GitHub, right, alongside courses. I mean, there are so many courses these days, right? But yeah, staying true to GitHub, I think kind of helps.
And one sentence of advice to every VIT students.
Yeah. I mean, I was there, so I know how it feels today. So I would say, dream big, right? Be consistent, be determined to what you want to get, and be very kind to everyone, right? You never know who's going to help you.
Nice. That is all from our side. Thank you, Hariharan, for sharing your experiences and insight with us. Journey demonstrates that career growth is not a straight line. I mean, you did a lot of stuff. It is built through strong fundamentals, very rightly said by you. Curiosity, the skill that you're looking for, experimentations, resilience, continuous learning, and the willingness to accept increasingly different responsibilities. I'm confident that our students will benefit immensely from your thoughts on education, entrepreneurship, cybersecurity, higher education, leadership. On behalf of Vidyalankar Institute of Technology, our faculty members, and our students, I sincerely thank you for taking the time to interact with us. To all our students watching or listening to this podcast, do not simply admire a successful journey, study the decisions, habits, failures, and learning process behind them. Begin working consistently on your journey. Thank you for joining us. This is Dr. Sanjeev Dwivedi, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Engineering, Vidyalankar Institute of Technology. Thank you.